There's actually one technique that's been proven to change muscles faster than anything else, and yet most people don't even know about it. In this video, I'm going to share with you how to customize this technique for your specific training goals. I'm going to share with you some case studies that are just going to blow your mind. And I'm going to give you the do's, the don'ts, the what, the why, the where, the maybes, everything you need to know to start getting the results you want and start using this technique in your next workout. So when we talk about workout methods and techniques, is your workout style more like Glenn or more like Sven? You might notice that their workout styles are a little bit different, and it's easy to overlook, but this minor detail has a massive impact on reshaping your body. If you notice, their pace is different. And if you're thinking it's just lifting and lowering the weight, does that matter? Your pace, also known as your tempo, can produce specific results for strength, endurance, and muscle shaping. And there's actually specific formulas to accomplish those training goals. So why is tempo important? Well, it does three things that guarantee your body's going to change faster. So let me tell you real quick how that works. When your brain controls your muscles better, which is your mind-muscle connection, then you're going to have better focus and more intensity in your workout. And when you have better focus and intensity, you're going to be focused on those muscles doing the proper motion and creating more time under tension, which is going to challenge those muscles further. And of course, when they're challenged, they have to learn to adapt and change. And that is what creates that lean muscle that is metabolically active, which makes your metabolism burn all the time and gives you that lean tone look that everybody wants. And of course, if you're stimulating your muscles in an efficient and effective way, then you're going to get better results faster. Yay! So going back to our friends Glenn and Sven, which workout style is yours? Glenn is a little more methodical. He's definitely doing some form of tempo training. Sven, well, I'm not really sure what he's doing, but those fast and ballistic movements are not going to help him get the progress he wants. They're not going to stimulate the muscle in the way that the slower, more controlled training is, and it's going to most likely force him to use other muscle groups that aren't supposed to be involved in that, and probably some repetitive stress too, just from throwing those weights around. So even though Sven looks like he's training intensely, he's really not focusing on the muscles intensely. He's actually not getting the same intensity and stimulation that Glenn gets by doing the slower repetitions. So first, tempo training is not just doing slow repetitions. There's a lot more to that. The second is that you're not going to use the exact same tempo for every single exercise. Just like you wouldn't do the same amount of repetitions for every exercise, you're not going to have the same tempo. The third is not a do or don't, it's more of a fact. You'll have endless combinations and therefore you're going to have endless progress and you're not going to be hitting plateaus like you used to in the past. Yay! And then the biggest do when it comes to tempo training is keep a log, keep a workout record, because different tempos are going to mean that you're going to have different weights for the same exercise because it's going to impact your muscles differently. So keeping a record will help you if you go back to that same exercise with a different tempo, you'll be able to gauge it better. And trust me, you're not going to remember what you did 3 months ago. And what's going to completely blow your mind is that there have been numerous studies that have shown that just doing that, the lowering portion alone, is enough to strengthen your muscles. And these studies were done with people doing 1 repetition for 3 seconds a couple of times a week.
What?
So just imagine what it's going to do for you when you're using it in your workout. All right, so let's get into how to use this formula. And remember to stick around because I'm going to go through the specifics on the formulas for fat loss and for strength, along with a whole other slew of parameters like reps and sets and blah, 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 blah. Okay, so what is the formula? Here's the easy part. When you think of your exercise, there's actually 4 parts to every exercise. There's the lifting and the lowering, but there's also the pause at the top and the pause at the bottom. And yes, I'm making a bicep curl motion because that's the easiest way to explain it. So that means that there are 4 specific areas of each exercise that you can focus on for different training goals. Now, tempo is usually written in a 4-digit code, but of course you can customize and do whatever you want, but this is how it would normally be done if you were reading it off of a program given to you by maybe a trainer. Each number tells you the specific pace to use at that part of the exercise. So for example, if it was a 4, 2, 0, 1, well, that means 4 is going to take you 4 seconds to lower. You're going to pause for 2 seconds at that extended position, 0 seconds to come up, and then 1 second pause at the top before you continue right down. Now, sometimes you'll see, well, it's not a number, you'll see the letter X, and that means that there is no pause. So that's even less than 0. So in case you do see that, That's what it is. And sometimes we'll use that in doing the lowering, pausing at the bottom, coming back up and then going right back into it, not even doing that 1 second or 0 second pause at the top. So I'll actually get into some more details on that in the podcast. So remember I said there's different tempos for different training goals? Well, that means that if your goal is endurance or strength or muscle change or hypertrophy, then yes, your tempos are going to be different. And that also is coordinated with your time under tension. These are the optimal time under tension ranges for those different training goals. Relative strength is going to be between 1 and 20 seconds per set. Absolute strength is between 1 and 40 seconds per set. Hypertrophy is between 40 and 70 seconds per set. And muscle endurance is 70 seconds or more per set. Now, I know that sounds really crazy, like, what am I going to do, count how many seconds I'm doing the whole set? Well, no, you don't have to. It's all right there in the tempo. So, for example, if your tempo is that 4-2-0-1, well, that's 7 seconds for a repetition. And let's say you're doing 8 repetitions per set. Well, 7 times 8, that's 56. That means you are right in the mid-range of that hypertrophy time under tension, which is 40 to 70 seconds. So you really don't have to get too crazy on that, unless you want to. So since most people out there are looking to drop fat and tone up their muscle and increase their metabolism, I'm going to give you the workout guidelines for that type of program. But first, a few important points about your program in general. So when it comes to tempo training, you're not going to use the same tempo all the time. So just like repetitions and sets and volume and rest periods, it's going to vary with different program cycles that you're using, and maybe vary with different workouts as well. You're not going to do tempo training on every single exercise in your workout. You're going to focus on your large body parts. So usually your first 1 or 2 exercises are going to be using the tempo training format. And obviously your tempo is going to change with your goal. So if your goal changes, then yes, you're going to have to kind of rework things. And that's great because it gives you an opportunity to have different goals throughout the year. And then your body's not going to get stale or stiff, and you're not going to get bored. And that's how you stay motivated. In general, for fat loss, longer tempos work best for metabolic adaptations and to help change your body composition and promote fat loss. For power, shorter, more explosive tempos are going to work best. So here are the main workout guidelines if your goal is fat loss and body recomposition. You're going to keep it in the moderate repetition range. That means your reps are going to be about 8 to 12. Your weights are going to be in the moderate range as well, and that means it's going to be 65 to 85% of your 1 rep maximum. And if you remember, you can go to fitgirlpodcast.com and use that 1 rep maximum calculator. You don't actually have to do a 1 rep maximum. Anyways, it just helps you to figure out what your intensity level should be. And after keeping a log for a while, you'll be able to go back and look and see what your appropriate weights are. And for your tempo, you're going to keep it around 2 to 4 seconds for the lowering portion, or that eccentric portion of the exercise. And then the concentric, or the lifting portion, is going to be about 1 to 3 seconds. And of course, the pauses, you can put anything in between. A common tempo for this type of training is that 4-2-0-1 that we just went over. So yes, that means you need to know what exercise and what tempo you're going to be doing before you start your workout. There's a lot to be said for planning your workouts in advance and in different cycles, and we covered that in the last podcast too. So check that out if you didn't catch that one.